Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Severed Chains live stream. Today I have Zychronics with me, and we are going to be working on integrating the upscale. Alright, let's just do a couple of quick tests, make sure that our mics and stuff are working. People in the chat, are you able to hear us okay? Just wait for the response. Okay, Elepri says, yep. Zychronics, you want to talk and make sure you're good?
No.
I have bad news for you. Alright, so just before I started the stream here, we got something very interesting working, and I'm just going to fire this up and demonstrate. So this right here, the Dragoon stone that you see, that is actually a PNG. That's not a TIM file or any kind of PlayStation format. That is rendering in the Legend of Dragoon engine as a PNG. So that is obviously a very big deal for what we're about to do. Um, over the past week or so, I've been working on decoupling the rendering code from the PlayStation file formats. So currently, the game still loads everything from the PS1 formats and the Legend of Dragoon formats. Like TIM is the standard image format. There's a couple other like PXL and MCQ. Um, and it still uses the standard models, TMDs. However, those are now pre-processed into a custom format in memory, and that is ultimately what the game uses to render now, which means that we can feasibly load any kind of file into those intermediate structures and render them. So that's what we're going to be doing here. I've got a set of upscaled textures. This is the cave in the snowfield. I have absolutely no idea how this is going to go. We have not tried this yet. I literally just got that Dragoon Stone PNG rendering like before I clicked the Go Live button. So yeah, we're going to do some experimentation here. So this right here, this is the method that loads the textures. Yeah, so this is loading. We track down the files here. Hey Chris, how's it going? Hey 2G. So these are the TIM files, these are the images, and if I open them in my TIM viewer here, you can see them very small. So these are the original game textures. So there's 3 backgrounds, and then this one has a cutout, which is kind of like, it's a little piece that gets rendered over top of the players. Yeah, we didn't really get anything for. We were supposed to get a bit of a snowstorm too, and we got nothing. We got like maybe 2 or 3 centimeters of snow, and then just rain. Hey Eric. All right, so we're gonna do some hacking here. This is not gonna be like a final draft of what we're gonna do by any means, but yeah, that's what we do here. We do experimentation, and then I take the work that we start here and I polish it up and make it a proper feature. So I'm just going to load this up and get a breakpoint inside of the snowfield, or inside of this cave, so I can see exactly what the name is. Dragon 23/388. Okay. So we're just going to add some special loading code here just for this one map. Now there is one issue that we're going to need to figure out. And actually, before I do this, I'm going to demonstrate this. So, Legend of Dragoon, being a PlayStation 1 game, uh, all of its texture management is done manually. So it will load textures into specific locations in the game's, into the GPU's memory. So if I press tab, we can show the VRAM view here. So this is what the actual GPU graphics card in the PlayStation has in its memory. Now it's mostly absent here, mostly empty, because I've already converted the entire main menu to use the new rendering system that does not need to use that VRAM anymore. Also, what that means is we can put textures of any size in there with no restrictions. But once we load into the cave here, we'll be able to see. So this looks garbled because it's 8 bits per pixel, and we're viewing it as if it's 24. But this is the actual background here. This is what you're seeing in the background. So we're going to need to change this rendering code to specifically use this new type of rendering system that we've got that no longer requires the VRAM. So we're going to have to figure that out. Now right here, where we've got build background rendering packet, I think that's a very good candidate for what we're looking for here. So that's a good question, 2G. Oh, hey Justin. That's a good question, 2G. It should actually increase performance. The new system is much more efficient than using the PS1 graphics emulation. I have removed like 90% of the graphics emulation already, which has like quadrupled frame rate. But since it is still emulating the VRAM, that is still fairly costly. With this system, I'm also able to do some pre-processing. So some of the code that currently runs every single frame will only need to be run once when the model is loaded. Okay, so I need to figure out where exactly this is being rendered. Okay, yeah, this is pretty messy code still. I haven't put a whole lot of work into getting this going fully. Oh look, I added a very helpful comment that says renders the background. So that seems like, yeah, this is gonna be it. Yeah, this code is unfortunately a lot messier than I had hoped it would be. But that being said, I do have an idea of how we can proceed here. Okay, so I'm just going to throw a couple of static variables here for now. This is not good, but it's what we're doing because it's going to be a lot easier to test this. Okay, so if we're not on that map, we just want to set that background textures to null to say that we don't have any. So we've got 4 textures here. I'm going to copy them in. Just going to put them right in the root here for now. Okay, so background textures. So we've got this texture loader, and it has this very helpful method called texture from PNG. Path dot of textures slash %d.png. I'm going to do this in a loop. Substitute that in there. Yeah, Justin. We're hopefully actually going to get background replacement working. I'm not sure if you saw when I fired up the title screen. There's a gray dragoon stone rendering on it. That's actually rendering as a straight up PNG, not using the old PlayStation formats. Okay. Hacky, but that's what we do here. So I'm not going to pre-build the rendering packets. Um, just because I would need to do a lot more refactoring to do that. We're going to build them every frame, which isn't ideal, but you know, to be fair, that is what the retail game does. So, not the end of the world. Yeah, that's pretty true. Okay, so we just got to build the rendering packet in the correct way. That's X, Y, Z. There should be width and height, yes. UV. Texture width and height is going to be the same as width and height. Now, palette base. That is the... Actually, no. We are using 0 for the palette base because we're not using palettes here. We're using just 24-bit PNGs. And we will also need to use 0 for the texture page. Okay. Gonna have to split the color out. Hopefully I'm not getting these offsets backwards. We will find out if the colors are inverted. Welcome back. I will actually be back in a moment. Sorry, everyone. Just 1 minute.
You know, while Corey's away, I could slightly hijack the stream since it's still running.
Please do. I'm just finishing work. I'm sorry, I've been triple quiet more than usual.
That's okay. So I can't control the video feed, but I can say, like, through microphone at least, I might have found a tiny sliver of an outline of additional world map geography, which I need to double check what I'm looking at, but it might be true. I'm going to check it out.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was telling them a juicy new secret. You don't know what it is.
Oh, are you gonna tell me?
No, and then I'm deleting the stream once it's done.
Oh, wow.
No, I believe I found extra world map geography, like a physical outline of some more land, if you will.
Oh, yeah?
So really quick, we all know the world map. It's a very common image in our fandom. About a year or two ago, or even further back, I tried to make the high-res version more widely known so we can more easily see the detail. And I was looking at it to make a confirmation in the lore channel about the border of Sandora and Basel. And I floated down to the bottom of the image for some reason, call it random chance. Oh, I was looking at fonts. When I was looking at the endiness fonts.
Of course you were.
And I was looking at the endiness font, and I realized, wait a minute, there's some weird texture underneath the endiness font, and it looks like it's a miniature version of the full world map. And I went to check like the outline of Mille Ciseaux, and it looked like Mille Ciseaux, and I looked at Serdio, and it's Serdio, and I believe there might maybe be the slightest, most pixelated outline possible of extra area to the east,
Cool.
which is normally covered by clouds in the actual image. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Back to you, Bob.
Alright, Justin asks, are map connections script-based or based on the texture? Assuming that you mean like when you walk to the edge of the screen to move to a different area. The game actually uses a 3D model to handle collision. So every single map has like an invisible 3D model on it. It's not actually drawn, but it uses the normals, the normal vectors from that model to detect when you are at various zones where you're at collision, and that's how it knows to transition to another map. Hey Ninji. It has occurred to me that I don't actually know which one of these rendering methods down here is for the actual background packets. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run in debug mode, and then I'm just going to comment out these various GPU commands at runtime, and we're going to see what disappears. Drew, were you here when I showed this?
I'm not looking. What's up?
So it's not much, but that Dragoon stone that you're seeing rendered there is a PNG, not one of
Oh,
Legend of
goody.
Dragoon's file formats.
Is it working out bigger or smaller?
It is rendering at the exact size that I tell it to.
I mean the like original file size versus the exported PNG.
Oh, no, that's just the loading icon.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, that said, PNG should be smaller in basically every case.
okay. I was thinking of that green stone in that orange background.
Okay, well, we found the background.
Wow. Wait,
One of
go
those
back. That
things.
looked really cool and moody and den lighting. Is that the cave we crashed at before?
Yeah, the cave that
Oh,
Lloyd
this
really
place is
didn't want to.
special.
Oh yeah, that was. Did that happen on stream, or was that just a known issue, Drew?
That that happened on stream and I was flabbergasted.
Oh yeah.
And that, I know because it was a really momentous evening. It was, I believe it was immediately following the Haschel dismemberment thing and having to get off the screen as fast as possible.
Oh yes. When we found several more retail bugs. We found so many bugs in the game's script files. It's been moderately annoying to say the least. So we run into these bugs, and we have to spend, if it's really to the scripting engine, we have to spend like days debugging them, comparing it to retail, and then only to find out that it's actually a bug in the retail game. Okay, so that's regular backgrounds, and then down here we have overlay, or I guess you guys call them cutouts. I suppose we should split this into background textures. Why did that folder just pop up? And overlays. Oh yeah, 2G. We've already dropped the size by like a lot. I mean, if we look at the ISOs here, it's 2.2 gigs. The file unpack is gonna take a while to tally, but it's like 1.6 or 1.4 or something like that. Yeah, well, okay, it's 1.46 or 1.64 if you're talking about size on disk, since tiny files have to take up at least 4 kilobytes. Okay, so this is actually going to be 3, and then overlays. We're just loading 1 for now. And we'll just hard code this to 4. Oh, I Zambonied this. Yeah, okay, and that needs to be 3. Okay. Yep, so that is fine.
I'm wondering if it'll even look that much different. Because you need at least like 2x to see the difference on emulators.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just going to comment this out for now. So one thing that is going to be an issue here is that it's still using the retail texture sizes. So we're not going to be seeing the full texture size in this first run, but we'll fix that after. If we were to re-encode all of the videos, which we are going to be doing, the FMVs basically take up no room. The FMVs in retail are huge because they didn't have very good encoding and decoding capabilities. So like if we look at the XA audio and the FMVs, which are both extremely wasteful formats, like that's 800 megabytes right there. Like that is over half of the size of the entire game. And we can re-encode those, which we are going to be doing in like 50 megs without losing any quality. Yeah, so you're seeing the green here because I have the cutout rendering disabled right now. But now for the moment of truth. It crashed. What did I do wrong? Oh, I used the wrong path. That should be graphics/textures. Okay, let's make sure I've actually got the right path this time. Graphics/textures. Yeah, I guess Elepri has been the one working on the FMV transcoding. We haven't fully settled on what we're going to do there yet because Elepri was working on a setup they used FFmpeg, but distributing the binaries turned out to be kind of a nightmare. Well, look at that. That's basically working perfectly. Like I said, it's only rendering a small portion of it because I haven't adjusted those sizes yet. But like,
That is hilarious.
that's just working.
It's terrifying.
God damn.
It's
All
a
right.
debug room all over again.
Now, what is the size of these? 1024 by 2048. Do you know what multiplier that is?
These are 8x.
8x. So, if I was to just multiply the texture width and height by 8, is that going to make this work? Is everything going to explode? We're going to find out in a second. Unfortunately, SMAP is a very large class to recompile. Okay. Almost.
Yeah, almost there. Why is the first one so,
That's a good question. Is that the wrong texture? That's the wrong texture, isn't it?
Where is that anyway?
That's this here.
But it looks like way different.
No.
Oh, because it's zoomed out differently?
No, it's the same.
Oh, it's...
It's this part
Okay.
right here.
So it's only showing the lower part of it.
Yeah,
And the rest is like hidden off screen.
which is fairly odd. Oh wait, no. It's this one here.
It's only loading one.
Yeah, so we're just off by one. Why are we off by one? Is the question. Oh. Of course. That's my bad. I overwrote it there. Okay, so we're gonna reload that. And we're gonna wait for this to recompile. Yeah, you can see if we come over here, we'll just walk on top of these. Normally, that green is covered up by an overlay, like a cutout, and that's drawn on top. That's how they kind of simulate 3D on these 2D pre-rendered backgrounds.
It must have been a lot of work for them.
God damn, look at
Ooh.
that.
Full screen it.
Now, keep in mind, this is still using my very bad software rasterizer, which does not do any interpixel interpolation, which is why it looks the way it does. But, like, here it is. Here's the upscale, and it's actually running at a playable frame rate.
The downscaled upscale. It's retro now.
Yeah, exactly. We have downscaled the upscale.
This is getting too... You know what? I need a break.
But,
This
you know...
is too meta.
Wow, I'm just surprised.
This is how easy it's going to be to implement this stuff in severed chains. Like, that took us a half hour.
I honestly can't wait because RetroArch's implementation is just too slow. I have like a top-of-the-line computer. It's just too slow. I can't run it.
Yeah.
Don't you have a 3090?
Yeah,
Yep.
3090. Yep.
Yeah, but it's
7950X.
It's just so slow in RetroArch. Elepri says, hot take, I actually like this.
I would say this is it even more pixelated than the original background?
I wonder.
I think so.
it's pixelated, but it's like clearer. You know, the other one is pixelated and softer. So
Okay.
this makes it look more. I think it makes it look more digital in a way, like more like natural pixel art almost.
Yeah, I'm gonna comment out this code and recompile, and we can compare. So I will take a screenshot of that. We'll paste this into paint.net.
Not bad.
And once this finishes recompiling, actually I just realized something. I didn't need to do that. I can just do this. I'm just going to make this if true rather than restructuring it. And once this recompiles, it will just pop to the old textures. Actually, no, it won't because they're not loaded. So we are going to leave and come back. Alright, let's compare. New layer.
You're comparing to the original?
Yep. So it's a lot sharper. It's kind of like we just sharpened the shit out of the original.
That makes sense when you downscale it by 8 with what I'm assuming will be nearest scaling.
Now,
Yeah.
in a way, this style does look very cool. So the big question now is, when we go over to OpenGL, are you willing to create some kind of toggle where we can turn on and off that pixel interpolation you were talking about, so we can just dynamically switch between the upscale and the up-down scale?
Yeah, I mean, we can just switch to, all you would need to do is switch to nearest neighbor texture sampling, and then turn your resolution down.
Cool. All right, Zychronics, we need to work together on a up-down scale project page on the website.
I think we can do that with a script. Because that's what I was planning to do. I was just going to say, okay, downscale all of the textures to 4x with bilinear or something. I can make a 1x version of that. Easy enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, if nothing else, this is pretty interesting.
Okay, now we need to make the internal resolution scalar again.
Yeah,
And then maybe it'll look good.
yeah, I could implement texture filtering, but I don't think it'd be worth it in the software renderer
I think we
when
should
we
wait.
just get that for free with OpenGL.
It's going to feel very official if you're going to have texture filtering options.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very, very easy to change the texture filtering in OpenGL.
Okay, I got a question. Because
Like
aren't we
it's mag
partially...
filter and min filter here. That's the filtering. What were you gonna say, Zychronics?
Aren't we partially filtering with... partially rendering with OpenGL?
Yes. So ultimately, the game is rendering at 320 by 240 using a software renderer. What you see on the screen is being presented by OpenGL, but it's just a single 4-point polygon, like two triangles, with the pre-rendered game drawn on it. So that's the only part that's engaging OpenGL now. Well, actually, the Severed Chains intro is OpenGL as well. But once you actually get into the and the FMVs, but once you get into the title screen, it's just two triangles with the game drawn on it, the pre-rendered game drawn on it.
I was thinking if the old internal resolution hack would even work still.
It will need changes because, like, the reason I removed it was because I basically, like, gutted the rendering code. When I had it implemented, it was still using, like, full PS1 SciQ library rendering, using the ordering tables and everything, which was super, super slow. It was spending, like, 80% of each frame just running through the rendering code. Um, so when I gutted all that, I changed several fairly fundamental aspects of how the game was rendered, and it was just easier and quicker at the time to just remove the upscaling experiment. It wouldn't be terribly difficult to re-add it, but I do question the utility when once we switch to OpenGL, we kind of just get most of that for free.
Alright, sounds good.
Yeah. Depending on... So, I mean, we've been talking for the past few days about how we're going to be prioritizing things moving forward. We're at the very end of the release cycle right now for the very first recommended build. Currently, my brother is in the process of producing a comparison video for us. I think he's actually working on that right now. I recorded some footage earlier and sent it over to him. Just kind of like comparison between the current recommended build, or the current build, because it's not quite recommended yet, and the last live stream build that we have on GitHub, which was from December 31st. So once we get that produced, we've got a release page ready to go, and then we're going to be cutting the very first, like, pretty good build. Still doesn't have music support. There's still some sound issues, but most of the graphical issues are fixed. It's mainly minor issues now. There are still a few more major issues, but for the most part, everything's working. There's only 3 known crashes now, which are game breaking, but we aren't going to have time to figure those out before this build goes out. And that is one of Celibus's attacks crashes, the cutscene after Zackwell crashes, and Melbuframa crashes. But yeah, those are the only known crash bugs that we have left. So after this recommended build, for the next one, I think we're going to prioritize real-time script debugging, which isn't going to have much of an impact on people playing, but it will allow us to fix those 3 remaining crash bugs, for one thing, much more easily. Ask Zamboni. He's been working on trying to figure out the Celibus bug for like 2 days straight. Just like, you know that meme with the woman with all the math symbols around her, or like the screenshot from that sitcom or whatever it is with the guy with the beard and he's pointing to the board with all the like strings all over it. Yeah, Zamboni's been like that for 2 days now, with sporadic help from me. Being able to understand these scripts better as well will open up huge possibilities for us. That's one of the biggest factors limiting what we can do with the game right now. Is just that it's very difficult for us to edit the script engine scripts. That'll let us do things like finish the new items, like being able to add new items and equipment to the game, being able to change damage caps, change how enemies attack, all kinds of stuff. There's so much stuff that's handled by the script engine. Even goes so far as to like make brand new maps and areas, which would be very cool. So that's going to be our main focus for the next release cycle, along with a few usability improvements, just kind of cleaning up the menus and stuff. But then after that, it's a little more nebulous. Music is definitely a high priority, music and sound. So I think that's probably going to be in the release after the real-time script debugger. So, needless to say, OpenGL is still a fair ways off because, the graphics are working well, and not using OpenGL isn't hindering us in any way right now. So, that all being said, we may very well re-implement the scaling, at least to a certain extent. Just because it will be probably until, closer to the end of the year that we even start thinking about OpenGL.
And to overclock my CPU so I can run it at 4x.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 2x was working really well in the old code, and that was when it was still using like the full Legend of Dragoon and PlayStation standard library rendering code. We cut the time to render a frame down to like 15%. So at this point, like 4 times or possibly even higher might be just, totally feasible. I would be very interested to see what the highest scaling someone could run it at is. That would be pretty interesting.
We for sure need someone with the 13900K or whatever.
Yeah. We'll just, you can just overclock your CPU to the absolute limit so you can ruin that along with your hard drive for the sake of severed chains.
It was only a couple of years ago that my 10900K was brand new, and I got it at a great price too. Now it's just old. Like it's over. Like all the new processors are overpowered anyway, but still.
Yeah. I still remember the very first processor that I had in like my very own computer. This wasn't the first processor that like my family had for a computer, but my very first processor was a Pentium D, which was basically 2 Pentium 4s hot glued together, and it ran at about 120 degrees Celsius.
Was that like a dual core experiment?
It was the very first dual core Pentium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was basically like, it was almost literally just 2 Pentium 4s like glued together.
I was a huge fan of Pentium 4. I had a 3 gigahertz for a long time. It was a screamer for its time, so I can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's very important to distinguish Pentium versus Celeron of the same gigahertz. They are not the same.
No, not even close.
But at least now there's a purpose for Celeron processors. They can actually run LOD.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, you could probably run LOD on a Raspberry Pi running Linux. Hey, does anyone have a Raspberry Pi? I want to try something.
I still want to power it with a potato.
Yeah. I'm actually really curious now. I want to try running it on a Raspberry Pi. Ooh,
Let's
Fanger
let's
has one.
uh let's de-resolution it if possible and see if it can run on a Pocket Station.
I'm gonna go ahead and say no. Also, that uses a completely different
Oh,
architecture.
sad.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of people with pies, and I want someone to message me in modding whenever they have time, and I want to try this.
So how does that work? Like, does the Pi is a circuit board, but like, what is its
Well, it
graphics processing?
you can run Linux on it, right? So as long as we can run OpenGL 3.2, then it'll work.
So it has to be some kind of onboard graphics solution,
Oh yeah, of course.
unless it has the tiniest riser ever or something.
Yeah, if anyone is willing to test this out, yeah, hit me up. Let's do it. Not right now, but soon. If we can run this on a Raspberry Pi, then we can run it on anything. And the game is mostly CPU, right? Being a software renderer, literally the only OpenGL capability it has to be able to do is render uh, two quads or two triangles per frame. And if it can't do that, then it might as well not have graphics
Yeah,
capabilities at all.
well said.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah, whoever is willing to do that, send me a message sometime and we'll try it out. I'm very curious about that now. Um, how long ago was it that I stripped out the old rendering code? I doubt there's issues for that. It was a long time ago. Let's look at the least recently updated. Oh man, some of these issues from so long ago, where we had like when we were just starting to figure out like there's some weird ass file formats here. Yeah, 2G says severed chains will be the antithesis of Crisis.
We're looking for the old rendering code. Shouldn't it be on the actual, like the old repository? Like it's that old. I don't think it would be on a new one, right?
That's a good question actually, because we did change repositories at one point. I wonder if I have a branch here. Um, yeah, definitely none of those. Render refactor. That was only 5 months ago. That can't be it. No, this is just. Hmm. Okay, this still has DMA channel. This could be part of it, because, yeah, that was when I was doing work on, when I stripped out all of the DMA stuff. Still has the draw sinks. Hmm. Yeah, it still has the ordering tables. It was only 5 months ago that I did this?
Surprise.
That is ridiculous. You know what? Do I have a second clone here? No. Okay, I'm gonna make another clone. There is only faster. No slowing. Okay. Let's just go back here, see where this is. Okay, it still has the control plus and minus to rescale in the README, so that's a good sign. Just gonna have to wait for it to build here. Okay, let's just fire this up and see if we can rescale. I'm gonna reconfigure this to build with IntelliJ, not Gradle, because it is way faster. While it is building, let's just take a quick look at the GPU code. Okay, this doesn't have any reference to a variable called scale, so the README might just be stale here.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, Okay, I'm gonna browse the repository at this commit. How do I do that?
Right, you just click
Yeah,
the...
render scale.
Oh,
Actually, if I go to main and then do a blame view here, this should lead us to it pretty quickly. Okay, this isn't it. Can I see? Yeah. Remove VRAM scaling. There we go.
we're going through the archives.
Yep. Yeah, so it wasn't incredibly complicated, but I moved a lot of stuff around.
Oh, God. Oh, this is not worth the effort, probably. Right? Or... Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, this method that I removed here could still basically be used one-to-one. Um, the way that it worked was that it physically, like, made the VRAM bigger and smaller. Um, and that should still work fine. Um, making it work with the new decoupled rendering code, that's another question. Let's check out this commit though, just for funsies.
Oh, no,
Oh wait, we want
why?
to check out the parent commit.
You're gonna have to unpack the files from this commit.
No, this is long before unpacking.
Oh, oh.
Long before. I do need to copy the ISOs though, but that'll only take a second. Match says, this build has the PS1 rendering stuff, so does that mean you could technically use that as a jumping off point for a different game? I'm assuming some stuff would break, but a good starting point. So the starting point for working on another game would actually be the old archived core repository. So this has basically like fully functioning PS1 hardware in code form. So this is like an emulator. How do I phrase this? Um, the way that I got Legend of Dragoon running at the very first was I wrote a Java emulator that emulated everything except for the CPU. So the game was running natively in Java. The game code was not emulated, but it expected to be talking to a PlayStation, right? It doesn't expect to be talking to OpenGL to render, OpenAL for sound, GLFW to make a window and handle input, etc., etc. So while the game was running in native Java, uh, there was still a like emulated PlayStation running around the game, uh, and that emulated PlayStation would proxy those like rendering calls and stuff through to OpenGL or whatever the modern equivalent was. So this repository still has all of that. Um, it has a full kernel and BIOS implementation that is capable of booting a game. It has CD-ROM emulation, direct memory access, GPU, etc., etc. So, you know, this repository, the reason that I had it split off like this before I started removing that stuff, before I started removing the need for that stuff in Legend of Dragoon, I specifically wrote it in a way that would be useful for reverse engineering other games. You're welcome. Yeah, Justin, for the most part, that stuff is gone now. We still do have the remnants of it. For example, there's a the sound is currently running on a very, very cut down SPU emulator. I've removed most of the code there, but there's still the remnants of it. Why did you not update? Oh, I think it's still doing the Gradle build now. Going too fast. Yeah, exactly. It was very important. Um, if I hadn't have done it that way, uh, you know, the project would have been impossible. You know, I could say it would be years before we were even able to run the game, but you know that's not even true. Um, we never would have been able to get it into a functional state because we wouldn't have been able to test anything. We would have literally had to rewrite 100% of, you know, the input, rendering code, everything before it would even run. And, you know, at the point of getting the game running, we didn't even understand what most of the code did, right? That's the big benefit of doing it the way that I did, is that I could reverse engineer tons and tons and tons of code um, without even understanding what it does. And because that PlayStation layer was there, it worked. Alright, so here is old build. So I can just, ooh, that didn't work at all. Okay, right, this was after I had done a bit of work, so if we step back a few more commits, before step back far enough that we stop seeing commit messages like remove a lot more GPU code. Automatic frame rate, prune GPU, back further. Yeah, I need to walk back before I made all these render fixes. Hopefully we don't have to go too far back here. Let's try... Okay, yeah, that's still new code. What was one of your big aha moments? One of the very first aha moments was I think it was when I got like the very first actual like LOD code before we even had title screen or anything like that even close. One of the very first like aha moments when I thought, like maybe this is going to be possible, um, is when I got the CD drive emulation and Bootstrap game code uh, working enough that it tried to load dragon0.bin. When I saw that file name come up, that was a pretty big moment for sure. Okay, yeah, this one's functional. Yeah, exactly. Alright, so yeah, you see we can just dynamically change the scale. You can see the detail on our armor becoming much greater. Of course, the higher the scale, it dramatically slows down the rendering speed. 4 times looks pretty good. I mean, even 2 times looks decent. Although, to be honest with you, I don't mind the pixelated look at all. Like even look at the difference in Fairbrand in the distance. I don't know how well this is actually even picking up with the YouTube encoding, but to me, I can see a huge difference, even just going to 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Once you get,
I just want a CRT shader, and I'll be
yeah.
happy.
Like the difference between 1 time and 2 times is by far the greatest. Because I mean, it's an exponential scale, or I guess a logarithmic scale. So, the more you increase it, the more diminishing the returns are.
Wait, couldn't I make a shader? Because it just goes over the window, right?
Yeah. Um,
Well,
if you go into graphics and shaders, it's just the two VRAM ones here. This is dead simple. Like it's literally just the vertex shader just forwards the information. Well, it transforms the quad and then forwards the information to the pixel shader, which just takes the UVs from the texture and displays that to the screen. It could not be simpler.
hey, that I wouldn't mind working on.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a list.
uh, add add proper speed up with a hotkey first.
Okay, yeah,
Instead
I
of
can do that.
instead of just the oh, I guess it's not even here in this one. The old debugger. Instead of just the what's it called? VSync mode box. Just add like a multiplier, so you can say like 2 times or 3 times or whatever.
Oh wait, I thought the frame rate was controlled by VSync. So wait, I would have to change the VSync operation to just not have every time it goes down or up, technically.
Um, where is it? In window or context that's handled? I think it's context, isn't it? Um, Is it context? No, it is window. Yeah, so like here you would just, or I guess where we set the FPS limit, rather than, 60 divided by
Yeah.
frames, it would be, 60 divided by frames divided by multiplier. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then that way you can just set like a straight up like 2 times frame rate multiplier and it'll apply everywhere.
Yeah, I noticed because I did set the gain to 60. It actually like the text windows actually come out smoothly, so that's nice to see.
Some stuff is based on frame rate. I think that's because, like text boxes are used in various places in the game engine at differing frame rates. But, everything like animations and stuff is locked to the frame rate, so it will make things run faster. Eventually, we'll be splitting the tick and the frame rate so that we can render faster than the game logic runs. That way, we can increase frame rate without speeding the game up. How long did it take to make LOD core? Well, let's see when I archived it. Last updated September 22nd. So it took, that would have been about a year. Yeah, because I started at the end of 2011. Let's see what the very first commit was. How far back am I gonna have to go here? I wish there was a last option here. Oh, okay. So the first commit was June 9th, 2021, actually. Oh, right, no. I started in 2020, didn't I? Yeah, 2020. Did I say 2011? I meant 2021.
Yikes.
But no, it was 2020 actually. The original version of this was not in the org. Um, let's see. Right, right. Okay. So the core it actually originally started as a single project. Um, Man, this was old. Yeah, it started as a single project, and I split that into 2 repositories, the game and the core. So let's see when the very first commit here was. December 14th, 2020.
That sounds right.
Yep.
Just before that, you were telling us how confidently you were going to tackle this, and we were like, LOLK.
Yep, exactly. And I did actually have a fair bit of code in there, so I was definitely working on this for at least a couple of weeks before that, before I did the initial commit. So I had the memory layer started, along with libgpu.
And
You
your
know
other
what?
milestone is that you got it playable last end of August, early September.
Yeah. It was Latch's birthday when I started. So fun fact, it did actually start out 100% OpenGL. I had high hopes for that, but it didn't work out. And then I ended up moving over to a software renderer. Um, I'm gonna clone this, and we're gonna take a look at it, because things have changed drastically since this. This will be fun. What do you mean? Oh, whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Get
You
cloned.
set us down the memory lane, it looks like.
Exactly. Let's do it. Is this going to build on Java 17? Looks like it. It's doing something. Okay, I'll need the ISOs. Yeah, it's saying unsupported Java version. Um, yeah, so we've got to switch to an older version of Java, and we'll give this another try. What? I just switched you to 11. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I still don't know how to use IntelliJ. It just works.
Um, why? Why are you like this? Okay, let's select Java 16 from there. Hopefully Java 16 will work. Okay, it's actually doing something this time. Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna change the Cradle wrapper to 7.0 and hope for the best. I haven't really changed the build script much since, well, ever, so I'm not doing anything particularly weird here, so it should work. Alright, Latch, thanks for stopping by. problem occurred, could not find method compile. What should that be? Implementation. And test implementation. Okay, let's give this another try. Oh yeah, it's downloading everything now. We should be good. We are very quickly going to find out if this is old enough to be the version that you oftentimes have to run 20 plus times to get it to actually start up properly. I'll just let it finish indexing and stuff here. Yeah, this is old enough that it still uses the BIOS, and it looks like it still uses these manually extracted files rather than reading those from the ISOs. Alright, here we go. This is the memory debugger. Why is it failing to create the window though? Create context profile is unavailable. What do you mean? I don't think any of this code has changed. Back to window. Yeah, that code's literally identical. Let's try running it again, I guess. Okay, there we go. Oh right, I couldn't get the FMVs working, so they would just, I made them start for a second and then instantly end. However, it looks like I have that disabled right now. Yeah, so I'm gonna re-enable this so that the game will actually launch.
I don't think I've ever seen this build before.
It's pretty unlikely. This was long ago.
Yeah, the first time when I tried it, I don't think the VRAM window was stuck to it.
Yeah, this version was before I even had a non-VRAM view.
Is this the Wait, no, the Balloon Rose version is even before this.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's crashing already. This might be before you could even get to the main menu. It's looking like it probably is. So this could be before Balloon Rose. Let's look at the commits here and see what the recent ones were. Oh yeah, I just implemented store image. Yeah, more progress on menu/input. So this was before you could even do anything on the menu. I apologize about how long this is going to take, but I am going to scroll back to the very oldest commits. Unfortunately, I don't know of a better way to do this.
It looks like the number of commits is changing in the URL, so maybe you can try jumping by 100 in the URL. I see like plus 664 and then it goes to like plus 699.
Yes, you're right. Let's try 1100. 2 bar. 1000. Alright, I think we're pretty close to the end here. Yep, there we go. Yeah, this was before joypad input worked. Boots to menu. Main menu rendering. Controller input on menu working. Game loading code, new game loading. Menu flames, somewhat rendering. Menu flames working. Fog and lightning rendering in the first scene, but not models. We're gonna show off the rose balloon firsthand. Oh, that's world map, so that. Progress on load game. So I must have already had uh, saving working. Let's try checking out this commit here. Oh look, I've still got a copy of the game running. Okay, so not really much to see on that original engine, unfortunately. But possibly stuff to see here. I'm not sure if this version requires me to deploy the core or not. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna have to match that up. Do I already have the core cloned? Guess so. Okay, so this is October 30th, so we'll have to pull a similar commit. Fortunately, there's not as nearly as many commits in this repository. Okay, October 28th. Probably fine. And we will deploy this. Gotta reconfigure. Try this again. Oh god, the interrupts. That code was bad and lived for a really long time. Yeah, wrong Java version. I'll fix you. Okay. Let's see what happens. No BIOS. Please hold. This was back when it still needed the BIOS, of course. Game 2. BIOS.bin. Oh, BIOS.rom. Does help if you read.
Oh, is it working?
Yep. There we go. This version did have the non-VRAM view, but it didn't work. Oh, that frame rate. Look at this.
Oh, it was so slow.
Oh, man. Okay, so we can't bring up the load game menu. That's not implemented yet. Yeah, this was back when it was still using full memory cards, full BIOS and kernel emulation. You can see the kernel running here. You can see it scanning the disk, looking for all the files. Like, it is essentially running a full PlayStation in the background for it to talk to. Alright, let's see what new game is going to look like. non-stop script debugging running in the console. And there it is. We're seeing it live.
From humble beginnings.
And that's as far as it gets before it shuts down. Yep, this was the very first version that was capable of actually rendering anything in-game.
I'm surprised it rendered so much, but then again, it's just 10 images mostly, right?
Yeah. But, you know, that is a lot of all of the transformation code and rendering backend and everything. It was a long time getting here. Like, this was so long. This was long enough in the life cycle of the project that we had set up the GitHub organization and migrated everything over to it. That was, yeah, October 30th of 2011. So that was almost a year and a half ago. And we have come this far in a year and a half. Come to the point that we are just about ready to add upscaling project support. And that's pretty significant.
I don't want to work on the RetroArch version anymore.
I figured. I've ruined everything.
Yeah, like, I'm coding for Dragoon Modifier version 4, and, like, I mean, the game isn't fully playable yet, and there's no script engine stuff that, well, I'm not going to say Dragoon Modifier can do script engine stuff, but it can modify stuff within the script engine, because, like, but yeah, I'm doing all that work just to make sure we have a decent version usable until whenever this is finished.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
version
there's
3.5 held together by paper.
nice. How much of Dragoon modifier is there left to port over to separate chains?
Well, stats are working, so through events, I really need the script engine working and modifiable. Because, like, some of the equips, they don't do standard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a weapon called Spirit Eater. It's for Dart. If you're not at full SP, it'll take away 35 SP, and you can't really do that with Sever Chains at the moment.
Okay. So yeah, I think for something like that, we probably want a like turn start event that would let you just run whatever code on a battle object. That makes sense? So like
We're gonna need,
it would fire at the start of every battle object's turn and it would pass you the battle object and then you could do like, you know, check if it's dart, check if that, or don't necessarily have to check if it's dart, but check if that piece of equipment is equipped, and then you can check the SP, and if it's too low, then you would deduct.
yeah, I think we are gonna need a crap load of events.
Yeah, I'm sure there's other cases as well, but I think a turn start event is reasonable not only for Spirit Eater, but also, you know, I can think of many other use cases for that.
Soul Eater?
No, Spirit Eater.
Yeah,
Okay.
Spirit Eater.
It's a Dragoon modifier equip.
Uh,
we're talking about the things that haven't been ported over
Yeah.
from Dragoon modifier yet.
That's what I get for stepping away to get some food.
Yeah, how dare you?
I haven't even eaten lunch yet, okay?
You might want to get on that. It's a little after lunchtime.
Yep. Caesar salad. I'm fine.
Yeah, Justin, it's been quite a boom lately, actually. Within the past no more than a month, uh, there's been so many people working on the project, including me. There's now 7 different developers who are uh, contributing to it. I mean, not everyone is putting as much time as I am into it, obviously, because I put quite a bit of time into it. But
Too
you
much.
know, yeah. But we've got like 7 active developers now, and I mean the number of issues that we've closed in the past couple of weeks is ridiculous. Like nothing we've ever been able to do before. I mean, just recently updated. Look at this. Closed. Um, yeah, 5 hours ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago, last week, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks,
Wait, physical ring
3
is
weeks.
fixed?
Oh yeah,
Same with Dragon Helm?
should be.
I've been waiting.
Well, there you go. We've fixed almost like every bug, aside from graphics and sound and stuff. As far as I know, or as far as we know, the only remaining gameplay bugs are those 3 crashes. Like everything else is fixed. Yeah, and 2 weeks of issues, or 2 pages of issues in the past 2 weeks, and that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I can't think of anything else here. Yes, the stream has reached 108 minutes. Yeah, we can close this collision issues bug as well. That has been resolved. So there's another one. Yeah. Literally the only issues left, aside from the only gameplay issues left are those 3 crash bugs, and that is it.
Don't jinx it.
I'm sure that people will find other bugs in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
compare that to the list from a month ago, and it's like a completely different game.
Hmm.
And that being said, we're just getting started too. Like once all these bugs are fixed, that's just the beginning.
The
The
end of one
modding
era.
API. Yeah, the modding API is still in its infancy. We've got a ton of work to do there. Um, OpenGL, uh, better rendering, uh, usability improvements, uh, better menus, etc., 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 all the way to crazy things that people probably never even thought would be possible, like PvP fighting.
I can't wait.
Or even cooperative fighting against bosses where, you know, multiple people control different characters. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. And I think on that note, I mean, these dev streams tend to be usually fairly long, but I think I'll probably cut this one a bit shorter because we accomplished what we set out to do very early, and we've just been kind of showing off some old stuff since then. So I think we can call it a night a little early, and everyone can get some rest. Does anyone in the chat have any questions before we go? Zacronix, do you have anything that you want to say? Drew?
I'll go at the end.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. Go ahead, Drew.
I guess while people are typing questions. So we will be getting back on track with the Severed Chains playthrough live stream this Friday. I spoke with Corey and we agreed to do a little backtracking to give those bugs more time to get fixed, I think was the reason. I don't remember.
I mean, we want to show off all of the content, right?
Yeah, so
It's more of, you know, the content's there. We might as well play through it all.
I haven't fought the optional Velvet Dragoons in a while, so I'd like to give myself a refresher on that in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I need to get revenge on the Polter armor.
Yep.
That was horrible, horrible timing with the wording. I said I wasn't giving up, and the damn thing crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on like the third try.
And that's actually an interesting story. So that happened because the expanded inventory was actually overwriting the Polter Armor's name in memory, because the combat items are stored immediately before the enemy names in the PlayStation's RAM. So that had us wondering, like, is this actually an issue with the retail mod, like the ROM hack version that TFC released? Because nobody had ever reported that before, right? And you know, plenty of people have tried that mod out, and then like 2 or 3 days after we figured out that's what was causing it, someone actually came into the modding channel uh, with an enemy with a corrupted name, and it was due to that bug with the expanded inventory, and that was happening in the modded retail version in emulator. So just the timing on that.
But they didn't crash, did they?
I can't. It might have actually locked up the game. I can't quite remember.
It's just there's so many bugs in the game after all that I think it's not that they couldn't fix them, they just wanted to show off how strong the PlayStation was, how capable it was despite reaching its end of life. It was so strong at holding together broken stuff.
Yeah, it's
a
not so
flex.
much the PlayStation, it's more just, you know, C will just let you do whatever you want, even if it's undefined behavior, and if it just so happens to be undefined in the right way, it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, the reason that these bugs never got fixed, of course, is because they just weren't noticed, because they literally just didn't bother to check to make sure that anything they were doing actually worked. They've got tons and tons and tons of methods in the LOD source code that will return a status to say, like, you know, I wasn't able to do this properly, and they just ignore it all.
Maybe for all we knew, it was just time crunch.
Yeah.
But in any case,
I mean, it's that is super common in programming. People never check return codes ever, and it causes so many issues, and people just don't do it. And it's not a product of the era. It's rarely a product of time crunch. People just don't bother to check return codes. They just assume that it worked and carry on as if it did.
well, that's the only thing I really had to mention. The playthrough stream will be back on this Friday, barring an emergency, of course.
Yep.
I'm helping another fandom on Saturday. I have some new stuff coming to the website, some new information, sort of ish.
Oh yeah.
If you're on my Ko-fi, you will get an early update about that probably tomorrow. And that's all I got.
All right. Speaking of Ko-fi, I'd like to thank my supporters: Jman001, Zach, Vorthod, Balder, Doom Metal, and Platinum Surge for your monthly subscriptions, and Kakashi Leonhardt, Jaspertron, and CF for your recent donations. And I hope everyone has a good night.